going to be a joy. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. It's wonderful to have you all here. We've got people signed into Zoom, and we've got people on a live stream. Hello. So we have a panel of Earthkeepers in service with us today who are going to share a bit about their initiation journey and their experiences as Earthkeepers in service. How many on this Zoom call are Earthkeepers in service as well? Show of hands. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So we also invite you to contribute in the chat, or during our session later, we may open this up for some of your shares. You open your mic. And if you have any questions about the upcoming course, whether you're a repeater or whether you are new, feel free to start adding them to the chat, and we'll be answering those questions a little bit later as well. Okay. So for now, please welcome our panelists, all of whom are longstanding members of the community and both Pillars of Light and Earthkeepers in service. First, welcome Karen Weissmantel. In this life, her roles have included mother of 4, physician, Navy veteran, primarily identifying as an explorer of energy and consciousness. She continues to move through many experiences in this life, assisting others in knowing the beautiful truth of who they are. Welcome, Karen.
Welcome. Thanks for having this and having me here.
Yeah, thank you. And then we have Ann Day. Ann Day is a visual artist, a longtime student and practitioner of the energy healing arts. She sings in a choir at a progressive Christian church, and also she's on the board of a nonprofit yoga school. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you, sweetheart. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you with us. And then we have Leticia Duarte. She is a Brazilian journalist based in New York City. She has done many spiritual practices as a practitioner, including Reiki, breathwork, Akashic records, and family constellation, just to name a few. Welcome, Leticia.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have our dear Mr. Edward Woody. Edward lives in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and has been a spiritual seeker for as long as he can remember. He feels a deep calling toward medical intuition, evidential mediumship, and trance channeling, with a strong desire to help others uncover the emotional and energetic origins of their illness and trauma. So welcome, everyone.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Our intention for this session is to explore the journey of initiation as an Earthkeeper in service. So some of you have been through the journey last year, and it's anniversary time. So it's a good time to reflect on how we understand the profound calling that draws us to this important work at this time. So we're going to have some firsthand testimonials from those who've embraced the path of service. And we also are going to look ahead to how each of us can contribute to this planetary healing through our dedicated service. So, all right, I do see some new faces too. So welcome to the new folks who have not yet engaged on this journey to initiation. All right. Let's take a look at some of these questions that we want to explore. And I'm just going to pull these up. Okay, I'm getting a bit of an error because so if somebody from the team could feed me the questions, that would be fantastic. Maybe in the chat. In the meantime, when we talk about initiation as an Earthkeeper, we're speaking about a profound transformation that forever changes our relationship with Earth and our understanding of our purpose here. So at this critical moment in humanity's evolution, the world is calling for those that are willing to step forward into active service. And how many of us have been heeding the call? How many of us have been stepping into that active service? I know that I certainly have. And especially the Earthkeepers level 2, if you've taken it this last month, for me, it's been a real reigniting of that passion for understanding that I'm a part of a bigger collective and that I am part of the Earth's consciousness. So through the Earthkeeper's pathway and initiation, we develop, like a deeper communication with the Earth's wisdom, a deeper communion, and we become vessels through which the healing energies can flow. The initiation process transforms us into stewards of the Earth. How many of you feel like stewards of the Earth? I certainly do. Yeah. So it's about dedicating our unique gifts, our presence, and our consciousness to the greater work of the Earth and humanity's evolution. So as more Earthkeepers step into this initiated service, we strengthen the worldwide network of Earth stewards who are actively shifting consciousness and creating real change. And the actual testament to that, the real example of that, was Belize. Our ability to go on a remote expedition, because it wasn't just a SEAL anymore with this activation as one vessel. It was 250 of us that were now able to do this. And so there's power in numbers. So we want to get more and more and more and more of you into service, reactivated, so that we can strengthen that network and really create that change. Okay, now let's hear directly from these individuals that are here with me. I'm going to take a look at these questions that we have listed. Okay, perfect. And then you can also, team, you can share some of the questions. You can share the questions as we are answering them, because maybe there's other Earthkeepers in service who have a contribution that they want to make in the chat. Okay. So the first question goes to Leticia and Anne. What have been some of the most rewarding parts of your journey as an Earthkeeper? And were there any unexpected challenges that helped you grow along the way?
Yeah, so maybe I can start. I think my journey is a little different than many here. I'm not a traditional healer, but as a journalist, just as a recap for context, I think most of my life, I always thought the way I would have an impact in the world, serving the world would be doing on-the-ground reporting on humanitarian issues, conflicts, human rights. So I did many reporting, investigating the problems. So just for example, I went to Gaza and I did a story on the conflicts, Israel and Palestine, through the eyes of kids facing the war, or traveling with Syrian refugees, fleeing the Syrian war towards Europe. Or I lived 1 year in Mozambique and I wrote stories about the AIDS epidemic there. In Brazil, I covered many social issues like homeless kids. So I always thought that was my service, right? I go and I look at the problems and I go to places, and that's my contribution. And to me, Earthkeeper is about learning this other way, that instead of focusing on the problems, on the shadows, we can, through a light, and help the Earth, help the planet, help to clear these energies. And honestly, to me, this is revolutionary. Is a way how to be in service through light and with this collective, powerful group together, even remotely. So this, yeah, to me is really revolutionary. And I think one of the challenges that I face is that I don't have these visions. So to me, it's about learning this, to trust my sensibility, my feelings, how to connect with these energies, with these places. And this is also super magic to me. This, what we were saying before, how to feel this oneness, how to feel connected to the consciousness of Earth. And just a quick example, I live in New York City. That's not the most pristine nature, right? But I bonded with a park near my home, and it's so magical what happens when like creating this relationship with this park. Now, anytime I cross by, I feel such joy in my heart. Sometimes I just cry walking by because I wanted to hug all the trees in the park, and I feel we're friends, like I feel this connection that's so beautiful. And is also a park related to the war, is a Korean War memorial.
Mm.
And after doing this work, I started feeling the trees as giant white souls. And there's a lot of magic happening there with this connection. I feel that's also helping to clean the energy all around the park, and really enchanting my life with this, not just seeing nature, but feeling we're part of nature and that we can evolve together in this relationship. So this it's changing my life a lot. And I'm really grateful to be in this path and this journey with all of you. So yeah, that's a quick
Wow.
summary, I think.
I mean, Leticia, when you think about if you had just stopped at focusing on the problems and working with children in Gaza and traveling with Syrian refugees, I think you probably would have done enough to contribute to humanity. But I love this aspect that you bring in. It really resonates with me, about not necessarily focusing on the problems, but bringing light to the situation, or bringing light to a place, or uh, like a site of energetic significance, right? And bringing light to the people.
Yeah, sorry, and just addressing the root causes. I think even
Yeah.
like the Belize expedition we were doing, and we're going to like very ancestral and old causes for this trauma, right?
Mhm.
That affects the communities nowadays. And yeah, so the ability to go so deep with the energies and have a real impact in the world is so powerful and beautiful. So yeah,
Yeah.
honored to be an Earthkeeping service. I really feel that's deep honor to be one of us.
Thank you, Leticia. Yeah, and that is the thing that we're doing, right? The reason that we're activating these sites of energetic significance is because we want to raise the frequency of the region and all that walk through that region or live in that region. So thank you, Leticia. That was beautiful. Very touching.
Yeah.
And how about you?
I just want to say, Leticia, that you said, talking about the nature near you, that it enchanted your life. That's a gem. Thank you for that. That's just exquisite. Well, in my case, my journey is probably very similar to other people in that I was once a Girl Scout. I love nature. I love this earth. From day one, I know that I've been an earth keeper in my heart, and I know I'm not alone about that. Yes, many of us. Yeah, no, I think that that's one way that we all resonate so similarly. Um, in recent years, I participate in a local church. I think I was in my little bio, and they had a sustainable garden. They were really trying to connect to the earth, but I knew I needed a real earth honoring piece to my spirituality. I really crave that. So I went on kind of another journey simultaneously where I studied Andean shamanism, um, uh, what I would call sort of Peruvian mysticism for many years. And in that tradition, studying with the Queto shaman healer priests of the Andes, I had a lot of amazing, great, beautiful experiences connecting to the earth, learning how to work with subtle energy, learning how to connect in collaboration with spirit to do healing work. And it was really wonderful. And they even had very beautiful little ceremony initiation that they call their Earthkeeper ceremony, where they invoke the energy of their ancestors to support you in your earth healing work. But I was still craving more. I wanted more, and I wanted a connection, a kind of communal, a way to communally really connect to love and heal the earth. So when in that way that the internet is both random and not random, I found my way to Evolution One. And when I saw that it was right about the time when you were offering your Pillars of Light directly followed by the Earthkeeper path, I signed up right away without really even reading the fine print, because I just was like, yes, working in community to do this work that I feel like my whole life I've really craved. So it's just been a huge gift. An interesting thing about it, though, is that I didn't really understand until the Earthkeeper 2 training itself that, how can I say it, that the whole part around where the Elohim and Asil have said, this is more than just connecting with the earth and healing the earth and loving the earth back. This is about supporting humanity as we step into what is going to be a very profound chapter in all of humankind's history. And I somehow I didn't get that until really I was in the midst of the training, and it was unfolding.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a revelation. I was so focused on just loving this planet. So that has been huge. It's still amazing to me. And I have to say, in terms of challenges, to be honest, I still struggle with holding my alignment. Like, for instance, with the Belize trip, I found that where we were working remotely on these beautiful sites in Belize, that like if we're doing 3 in a day, the first 2 I was good, but by the third, I kind of went out there into little, what do you call it, theta brainwave state. I don't know where I went, but I lost my alignment. So I know there's more work for me to do in that area, and that will be my growth edge. So
beautiful, Anne. Thank you. And I love that you mentioned the community piece, because I know that there's been a lot of initiated Earth Keepers in service that have started doing things together, whether it was remotely or in person. I mean, how many of you on this call have been part of a remote activation or a remote alignment or a remote attunement of a site? I know that there's a lot of you, that are doing this together. So it's true. It's the training, and then it's the community that builds up around you. And again, we wouldn't have been able to do Belize if we didn't have that community of practitioners supporting us. Right? So I agree. And I love that you brought to the forefront this idea of alignment, because we fall in and out of alignment all the time. And it's not about perfect alignment. It's about the practicing of falling out of alignment and then back into alignment. So keep going. It happens to me too. There are times where the energy of a place is just so overwhelming. It like takes me. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, where'd I go? I'm out of my body. Get back in here.
Yeah, gratefully, Elohim have never said, you must do this practice perfectly if you want to participate.
Right.
That they seem to understand that we're human. So
And
they do say, keep practicing. So
yes.
I will.
And in one of the Earth Keepers level 2 transmissions, they even talked about that if you wait until you're perfect, then that's not what we're looking for here. So you're never going to be perfect. Just jump in and do it. We need you. Humanity needs you. Excellent. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Leticia, for that beautiful response to our very thought-provoking question. And if there are any of you who are on this session who have a really answer that's alive for you, feel free to put it in the chat. Let's see, what else did our team cook up for us, question wise? Let's go to Karen and back to Anne as well. Would you like to share? Can you share a powerful experience where you directly worked with the Earth's energy or consciousness, and what did it teach you?
Well, I'd be happy to speak on that, but I will say there's so much interconnections in what we're all talking about and what's happening, because even the alignment piece, I was reviewing the third transmission from Earthkeeper level 2 that we just had last week, and they talked about in that session, and I'm paraphrasing, but in the work, it is our alignment and the love of creation, the energy that can flow through us that first will expand us, expands our consciousness. And at some point, when we have gotten that to some level, we can radiate this out and direct the energy. And I had a direct experience of that yesterday after doing the global alignment. This and the energies were just running so high because we had this group and we were aligning the, basically sending the love of creation to the earth for alignment. I just could feel it radiating out. So anyway, but what you asked me was, I've had multiple experiences. And I think I'm going to choose, my background is from photos at Lake Attilan, where the initiation was for the first Earthkeepers level 3. And I had felt this vague connection with Lake Attilan pretty much as far as I can tell all my life. I hadn't even seen her, anything like that. So when you said that you were going there, I knew I had to be there. So before we actually went there to Guatemala and Lake Atilan, I began my connection consciously with the lake. We're taught the tools of this and, how to connect. And when I first arrived, it was before, the week began. So in the hotel room, I did the bonding meditation from Earthkeepers level 2 and bonded with the lake. And then the next morning, me and a group of people walked down to the lake for the first time, for me anyway, the first time. It was a small group of other earth keepers, and about 3 of us got into the lake, others sat in meditation, and we got into about our calf, our ankles level. The reason I chose is wanted to give the lake my gratitude and, I wanted to honor the lake because we had started to have this connection. As soon as I walked into the lake, and I have visions from time to time, but like that's not, knowing is my biggest modality of sort of extrasensory perception. So I walk into the lake, I'm just really loving the lake, and then the goddess of the lake appears to me in this very ethereal form in the lake, and she begins speaking to me in light language. And that's not, at that time, it wasn't big in my world. I mean, I had spoken it rarely, but I certainly never understood it when others spoke it. I understood perfectly what she was communicating to me. And I found myself speaking out loud, um, and using hand gestures, communicating back to her in light language. And and the other thing, it was like I was in this interdimensional reality. I knew where I was. I knew I was Karen. I was at the lake, but I was in this totally other reality. And so we're having this communication. And then the children who said that were the children who were swallowed by the lake, meaning they had drowned in the lake, appeared to me. And as a person who's been in service, I'm a physician, healer, earth keeper, I immediately go into, oh, I have to do something mode. There's these beautiful children and, they drown in the lake. So I offer them this pillar of light basically to transition if they would like to move on. And they just sort of laughed at me, but, not with any judgment or anything. And they just sort of laughed at me. And no, we're here to remind humans to be playful like a child. We're here to, let them remember to have the wonder and the curiosity. No, we don't want to move on. So this experience, I mean, like, first of all, like I said, I normally don't have that vivid experience. And somebody had relayed to me later that as my hands were moving, there were like sparkles of light coming off my fingers. And I felt that, But it taught me so much. One, I do believe that just like in our life, if you have somebody you want to connect to, but you have never said hello, put them on the phone or anything, you don't want to walk to their house and just knock and say, "Here I am." You can do that. And we do that as a group on group expeditions, but usually somebody's knocked first. But make that start that connection. Start in some way with the connection first. But what it really we have many extrasensory modalities that may not be showing up, but given the right combination of factors of vibration, resonance, um, they'll open up and they'll come out. And since that time, like even my light language has definitely increased. I don't even think I fully have integrated all the teachings from this one experience. Um, the other teachings are there is this very complex ecosystem of non-physical beings that participate and are part of our world. And well, I grew up in a haunted house, so I sort of knew some of that, but like I really know this in a deeper level. And more humility, like me coming with my Western mind to this place and just offering help without, it was just like, it really taught me that I need to be more humble and take a step back when I approach these sites. So that's, I think that, I think I took a lot of time. So, but there's a lot of crossover even in what Letitia and Anne has said, and
Mhm.
so many teachings, and they're ongoing. So I'm so excited, honored, and loving this path.
Oh, thank you, Karen. Yeah, and something that you are alluding to that I just want to put a more of a specific point on is this idea of saving versus being a vessel of energy, right? Projecting our perceptions, our beliefs, our judgments onto a situation, which the Earthkeeper's path is not about that. The Earthkeeper's path is about being a vessel, right, for this love of creation to come through. And the purity of our vessel, the clarity of our vessel is what's most important, not the ability to communicate with uh, uh, non-physical beings or as you said, the light language. Like those gifts open up as a result of you being present to a site of energetic significance and then receiving those gifts. It's kind of like you download them and then you unpack them later, right? But the immediate like application of the work that we do is really about being that vessel for light. So I love that you came to that realization, right? And you had all of the aspects of like almost like a perfect storm of you were a physician, you were a mother, you had the gifts to heal, and still the children were like, no, we're good.
Yes, and it's just really like I think I was just so excited by the amount of what was going on that I
Yeah.
did lose my neutrality and alignment. And so that was a big teaching. So I'm so glad that you said that in better words than I probably can express.
Thank you, Karen. And I'm just going to, and just really quick, because Laura is asking maybe to say a little bit more about love of creation for people who might not be familiar with the term. And love of creation is is the very specific term that the guides have given us in these trainings that is akin to or the same as universal life energy or chi. So you may know it in different connotations, but it's essentially the energy that holds the fabric of our existence together, and it runs through humanity and it runs through the earth, and it's called the love of creation. So thank you for offering that suggestion, Laura. Anne.
That was just, this is the delicious conversation. The experience I would like to offer up actually happened recently while we were doing our beliefs work. And one of the kind of earliest projects that we worked on was to support the attunement of a kind of vast underground crystalline cave. And what happened for me was that it took a little time to get into the energy for me, and to I was holding my alignment pretty well and being pretty supportive, I think. And interestingly, I was shown kind of through my intuitive capacities that I seem to be able to be growing all these souls, disembodied souls, and they were all rising with ease and grace, rising upward towards the heavens. And it wasn't just a few, it was many, and they kept coming and coming and coming. And I got quite intrigued by this vision. And I kept asking myself, why are there so many here? What is going on here? And I realized right about then that I had completely gotten distracted, which a seal predicted can happen. So I had one of those, okay, this is just what a seal told us not to do. So fortunately, I was able to kind of bring myself back, but I was still curious about that whole experience. So then in a kind of fun synchronicity, in that way that being put in a breakout group is random and not random, I was put in a breakout group with two other lovely Earthkeepers on this sort of just a fun sharing call. And fortunately, one of the people on that call had an experience working on that same site where she interacted with some ancient shaman who told her that in this case, that was a site of a human sacrifice, and there were still many souls that were still basically still hanging out there. So it kind of satisfied my curiosity about, why, even though that wasn't really where I was supposed to go. And so I just wanted to kind of share that because it was both a learning experience about how easy it is to get pulled out of alignment when you see something. And also that you may get shown, but you might not get shown everything. And so it's like you kind of just have to keep surrendering. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. And thank you for bringing that up, because that's something that we're going to be practicing when we go to Mexico in person, because there's lots of things to get distracted by in Mexico, or anywhere where you're at these sacred sites and you've got a lot of you've got a lot of activity, you've got a lot of noise, you've got a lot of motion, and then there's the non-physical realm. You have entities, and there's a whole ecosystem that when you start opening up as a vessel to bring this light through, to allow this light to come through, you're going to get some attention, right? And so keeping your alignment, especially in those times when you have that extra noise around you, is really important. So thank you for bringing that to light again about the alignment piece. Yeah, beautiful. All right. And Linda Bruce is saying, in the recent release of the Wisdom Lounge, Asil and George talk of the relevance of being neutral in our state of alignment to allow the unflavored love of creation to come through and do the work that is needed without our influence, right? And that's the key, without our influence, right? We get into the healing word, and all of a sudden we want to be involved, right? But really what we're doing is we're allowing healing energy to come through us as vessels of the divine. So thank you. Riveting. And I'm sure that all of the Earthkeepers in service that are on this call have at least one powerful experience and one learning from that that they could share. So if you want to add that to the chat, that would be fantastic. And we may be able to open up after this last question to some of your shares verbally. So start thinking about those Earthkeepers in service. All right. We've got one last prompted question, and Edward and Karen, I'm hoping that you can answer this question for us. Some people feel deeply called to this work, but also wrestle with doubts and concerns. So could you speak directly to somebody in that space? What would you say, and what helped you take the leap if you were on the fence as well? Edward?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate being here. Everything that's been said so far, I resonate totally with. And especially with Anne, we're talking about, I grew up on a farm and I was a Cub Scout. So being with nature and reaping from the earth and understanding the productive cycles and how, how much we benefit from the earth has been in my background since I was a child. Um, so my doubts and stuff come more, I think a lot of us have internal doubts. And so mine are, from Rock Hill, South Carolina. I live in the South. Just what am I going to do? So it's easy to fall into that kind of mind frame. But okay, so I got to go on the Costa Rica edition in 2021, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about just being in the presence of the sacred sites and how transformative it is. I feel like stuff is still happening in my life today from that started in that journey in 2021 in Costa Rica. I felt like just it really it really changed my life. It was a transformative experience. And when it was over, I remember telling Crystal, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. This work is just, I'm called to do it. And one little experience I've had since then, I was in a place that was a sacred site. There's a vortex there, and me and some friends went out there and we were meditating and really wasn't expecting anything. But I got this overwhelming presence from a spirit there in the forest, right at the vortex. And it pressed its energy on me and it told me that it had a gift and it wanted us to open our hearts and accept it. And that was right there. It's going to make me cry. So it's just a beautiful experience, that change of energy. And where else are you going to be able to feel that alignment in nature and with the other things that's going on in this planet that we don't get to see, that there's so much happening that we're not a part of. And being able to interact and be a part of the process and help in any way I can is important to me. So I try to do what I can do. But even like, with the course like this, you got to set up your own little spiritual sacred site. And even that process, it's like, oh, where am I going to find a site? What am I going to do? You can start creating a lot of self-doubts. But if you think about it when you first started thinking about it, a place probably popped in your head, like, oh, that'll be perfect. And I had to go back to that and, recircle around to the idea of what I thought was going to be perfect. And it worked out. But I can be one that I let a lot of self-doubt kind of get in my head and take up a lot of headspace. But give this work a chance. It's very transformative.
Thank you, Edward. And yes, we were, that trip to Costa Rica was before we had an Earthkeepers in Service pathway, before we had an Earthkeepers in Service training. And it was so profound even then. And it was very adventurous. 2/3 of us got, 2/3 of the group got COVID.
Yeah, that was fun. That was my first time getting COVID.
But but for some reason, everybody remembers it as this amazing trip. Like the COVID thing was just like, whatever.
Because we hiked up a volcano for 5 hours and saw like angel white-winged butterflies flying in the forest that no one else gets to see. And, it was just, it was grueling getting to the top of the mountain, but it was just a part of the process.
Yes, and meeting with the wisdom keepers, and yeah, it was an incredible experience. The adventure, the boats, all the boats in the rain, and the this and the that, and the hiking, and yes, truly an adventure. And so this will be Mexico will be Mexico will be one of the first expeditions that we all do as Earthkeepers in Service. So that's going to be really interesting. Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yes, we'll get to apply the training. Karen, what about you?
Well, I don't want to take up too much time. And so much of what's been said, like Edward just said, and even Anne said earlier, in terms of having doubts or concerns, definitely just trying to set those aside, staying in our neutrality and alignment. As far as our, because doubts and concerns could be in many areas. And I think one of the number one things I hear from others, and also I've experienced myself, is doubts about our own abilities. And I just want to reiterate that if you're going through the courses, you're doing some practices on your own. When you're with the group, the consciousness of this group really strengthens and magnifies, at least my experience, my own capacities, my own abilities. And with time, even though at first it may seem like, oh, that only happens when we're in the group, but with time, it expands my consciousness. It expands how much light I can have
Mhm.
running through me. It expands all of that. So I've also had experiences like just a quick one was at St. John's Cave in Belize when we were all doing it online, where I had this incredible experience again on day 2. I stayed in my alignment though this time, having learned from the year before. But I was just amazed because like it's online, we're together, and I'm having these experiences. But what happened, and I'm just sort of putting them in the back of the mind to reflect later on them. But the Elohim came in and gave a channeling through a seal orally during that one towards the end of it. And what they channeled confirmed what I was seeing. So it's like it was really nice to have that confirmation. But
Mm.
if you have doubts or concerns in that area, just let them, step aside, because eventually you will get some confirmations. And even if you don't, we're to stay in that neutrality and know that this expanded energy is assisting us. But the other one that we haven't talked about is that, and that I've seen quite from other people, and even I myself may have had, were negative entities or negative energies.
Mhm.
People are concerned, because we have a non-physical system of all kinds of beings. So when what I want to say regarding that is that for me personally, the even though I did grow up in a haunted house, so I'm not too bothered by a lot of that. I wasn't always sure what to do. I think that um, in these areas, through the tools and training that Earth Evolution One has provided in the Earth Keeping Path, and especially when we're in a group, it's taught me that all I have to do is what we do every day. Silence, presence, alignment. Let the energy stream through me. Be the light that I am. And, stand there. Don't try to change anything, and just be the light. And that usually, well, first of all, I don't get affected by them. Um, and, I just stand there and they can choose what to do at that point. you know, it's, I find that it's just another way that the earth keeping path has really, really helped me. Um, and then it really is sharing, having the time, like even today, to share our experiences. I mean, in a lot of people's lives, including my own, even though I live in Mount Shasta, I can share with a lot more people, but who can you share these experiences with? It's like you have to be careful in some respects because but what's nice is our community provides the container, it provides the group where I can share vulnerably and others can share vulnerably. And we know with that we're not going to be judged, we're not going to be told we're crazy, and that solutions or even just understanding in our presence come forth. So I don't know if that was helpful or not, but that's been my experience in terms of doubts and concerns. And I'm just so grateful for this path and for the collective, for everybody, and for Evolution One. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. I love that you bring up this absence of fear because I'm a big proponent of that. And the simplicity of this work, we can try to make it as complicated as possible. And the words that the guides say are exquisite and they're beautifully crafted and they come out in such a structural way. And at the end of the day, it's all about simplicity. It's all about alignment. And so the fact that you're bringing up this idea of fear, that's something I used to walk around with as well. I was afraid. I was afraid of negative energy. I was afraid, I was an empath. I was afraid of like, stuff coming at me or energetic attacks or um, what have you. And then as soon as I started doing this work, really in an Earthkeepers and service context, when we would go on expeditions with a SEAL and George, George would focus us before we got to a site on our heart center and staying aligned and strong in our heart center and carrying the alignment in our heart center as we walked. And that really started to change my perspective of what the world was to me, right? I could just walk through it as like, okay, as long as I'm aligned in my heart, I'm good. So simple.
Yeah, I love that you bring that in because I'm also an empath and I didn't even necessarily consciously recognize that through the evolution one. And I have been with you guys for about 5 years,
Yeah.
and the practices that maintaining that in our hearts and just sort of being whole in our alignment,
Yeah.
it helps even with people. Helps.
Absolutely.
In fact, and to be quite honest, that's the first place it really, really helps,
Yeah.
like you can walk into a room where everybody's upset and, chaotic, the energies, and you just stay there. And that's the same thing if you
Yes.
come across, but prior it used to affect me and bring my frequency down. I'd get so sad if the person was really sad or,
Yeah.
if,
Right.
so yeah. So we just stay in our neutrality, and that's the best thing we can do, with our love, because we are all loving beings, and eventually just continuing to shine this expansive energy, or right now, and what better service can we provide for the world,
So true. Very true. Thank you, Karen. Thank you for that back and forth banter a bit and for sharing yourself. I believe we have one hand raised. So Tita, do you wanna come online? Maybe Yuli, you can pin Tita and she can contribute verbally. And I do see that Laura has written something in the chat. So feel free to take a look at that as well. Tita?
Just sort of speaking to the fear aspect, I had never heard that with any, I've done previous work and with previous groups and whatnot. Nothing ever just affected me so like strong. And we were in Hawaii, I think that was pre-COVID. I don't even remember the first Hawaii trip. And going to this site with the Steel and Crystal and everybody, and we're in the parking lot. And before I even got out of the car, this intense, it was just, I didn't even know how to explain it. There wasn't separate. It was just like this intense fog came over me. And we got out of the cars and I just plastered myself to a seal. And he just kind of looked at me and I said, this is scary. And he said, this is before we talked about alignment and all that. This wasn't in the vocabulary yet. And he said, yourself. And he kind of sternly looked at me like, what's your problem? And I just started grounding. And then when we said some heavy things happened at the site, like a ranger, this was at the pool.
The baths, the Queen's Bath.
Queen's Bath. And, a ranger ended up, like, what are you doing here? So it wasn't just the non-physical entities, but it was the physical. And a SEAL being himself, he can talk to anybody. We kind of chatted with the ranger and let him, the ranger felt he was the only person that could really speak to this site. And, but when we left it, the energy changed so much. It was welcoming and loving. And as Neil said, it was just that they didn't know who we all were. And I think he hadn't done any pre-work on that site, maybe. So we just kind of showed up. And yeah, that was very intense for me. That's the only time that's ever happened, before or after. But I was scared. But once I grounded and once, now we have different steps and But it was very interesting to experience that. You know, it wasn't really terrible. It was just surprising.
Yes.
You know, wow, what is this?
Yes. Yes.
So, but now we just hold our alignment. And the other thing I learned from that was, and I think Karen said it and Crystal, we don't have to heal anything. We don't have to do anything. I don't have to work on my, you know, my little healing perception stuff that I used to do and sending energy out through my paws. You just hold your alignment and bring the energy. You know, they'll do all the work.
Yes,
You
exactly.
just sit there and hold your alignment and your silence and your presence, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
And you will experience other things, of course, through that. I don't know if those experiences really mean you're out of your alignment. But if you are sitting in alignment, you will sense, see, feel, but you don't have to do anything.
Right. Exactly.
Easy.
Exactly. Simple.
I was so worried about, you know, creating my ESP and visualizing more,
Right.
and, you know, having the
Why
Virgin
am I not seeing anything?
having the Virgin Mary appear and give me guidance.
Thank you for that, Tita. You know, some people are asking, like, what is an initiation? Like, what is this? What's the difference between level 2 and then level 3? And then what happens, and how do you become an Earthkeeper in service? What can you do that you didn't, you know, that you couldn't do before? And so I want to share that in the last transmission of Earthkeepers level 3, you receive an initiation from the guides. This is going to be a new initiation. So Asil is coming out of his personal development, and he will be there for this initiation to deliver it live. And your initiation by the guides will allow you to attune to sacred sites, direct the energy, and adjust the frequency, or allow the energy to adjust the frequency of the site. So as Tita was saying, it's going to give you access to be that vessel for this energy to come through and the frequency to be adjusted. So you're also going to be part of this global community of Earth Keepers that we've been talking with, and it's going to allow you to really elevate and support human consciousness, all the life on Earth. So it's not just about saving the Earth. You know, we say, you know, come for the Earth savings, stay for humanity, you know, type of thing. It's this, oh, I thought it was going to be that I'm saving the Earth and I'm healing the Earth. Well, it's really about the elevating of the frequency of Earth's consciousness so that humanity can thrive, right, and rise through these Earth's frequency changes. Let's see. There's a question about prerequisites for enrolling in Earthkeepers level 3. And if you're on this session, then you're most likely qualified, because to enroll, you have to have completed foundations and level 2. And there is an approval process by the guide Emmanuel before enrollment. Some people get a yes, and some people get a not yet. And it doesn't mean a no, it just means a not yet. And sometimes we've experienced that not yet to be somebody is going through a particular energetic circumstance, or maybe a personal circumstance that precludes them from receiving this initiation at that particular time. So if you do happen to get a not yet, then please don't worry, because it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's a matter of there's just the stars do not align for this particular initiation at the time. Okay. So yeah, Asil is going to complete the final check with the guides this week. So that information will be recorded, and you'll be receiving emails inviting you to Earthkeepers Level 3 if you haven't already. Certainly the repeaters have received that. How many folks on this call, just by a quick show of hands, have already signed up or already enrolled in Earthkeepers Level 3? Okay. Okay, like pretty much everybody. Okay. Good. Okay. Wonderful. And then one of the questions is about offering financial support for those people who are unable to participate. And we do offer scholarships because we are a nonprofit, and we do have the ability to personalize some options for people who truly can't afford it and are facing, some financial challenges at this time. So if this is the only thing holding you back, then we encourage you to reach out to our support team who would love to assist you. That's connect@ascension.one, or send us a direct message on Mighty Networks. Okay. Laura is asking, what will the initiation do for Earthkeepers that have already been, who have already received initiations? Laura, in this case, it's kind of like fortifying layers. So your initiation will be kind of fortified and deepened. There's like an extra layer that goes. And those of you who have taken Pillars of Light in service, or so Pillars of Light Level 3, and done that multiple times, you understand what that will do for you is similar to what Earthkeepers in service will do. So thank you for the question, Laura. Let's see. I experience. Linda Bruce said, I experienced not yet. However, 2 days later, I got a surprise ticket for my son to visit him abroad. Such a treat. I had not seen him for 2 years. If I had been on the course, I could not have gone. Yeah, and people will ask, well, why is it? We have no idea. The guides don't tell us. Simply yes or no. But what we experienced, somebody, there was a woman who got pregnant and really needed to, her energy needed to go into this baby that was inside her in those initial weeks, and so she wouldn't have been able to do that. So there's all sorts of things that come up. Again, that not yet does not mean no. It just means that the guides, in their infinite wisdom, are saying that this is not the right match for you at that moment in time. All right. Let's see if there's any other questions. And if there aren't, then I'm going to close this up. Let me just look. Okay. Yeah, Laura's was the last question. Amazing. You guys. Well, first of all, I really want to say that I so appreciate this panel. You have provided a voice to the unique alchemy of this group of Earthkeepers in service, the broader group, right? So just your stories and your experience shares have elevated this whole cohort. So we appreciate you, and really this helps not only people who are considering Earthkeepers in service pathway, but those who are Earthkeepers in service and are now going, hey, me too, or that's really inspiring, or that happened to me, or I felt that way. So it creates this this greater connection amongst the existing Earthkeepers in service. And this really helps us to explain through your words to the rest of the world, to even potential donors, what this work means to people. So I really appreciate you dedicating the time that you did to our group here. And I want to thank everybody else who's on this call. Thank you, Tita, for sharing. Thank you for the shares in the chats. And Laura, thank you for your powerful experience share in the chat as well. And we hope to see everyone. Just make sure that I'm getting all my talking points here. We hope to see everyone back with us on April 1st, which is when the Earthkeepers Level 3 starts. And we hope that we helped to touch your hearts. We hope that you can feel the resonance. And we invite you to take this step towards initiation or re-initiation as we would have it. So thank you for being part of this Sacred Circle today, and many blessings to you as you continue your journey in service to our beloved Earth and to humanity. Thank you very much, everyone. Great to see you all. I have been looking through the tiles and seeing everybody and appreciating you.